Hello. Okay, well, what started out as a good week turned into half a nightmare by Wednesday. I have a lot to get through before we do the the boot porn section of the the video. So those of you who are impatient, I guess you can just scroll ahead. I wanted to do this video sooner, but stuff was in transit. Meantime, I had watched a bunch of videos about fit, specifically from the other companies such as JK and Nix. Nix had kind of a jokey video where he says, well, if your boots don't fit, maybe you need to tighten your laces. If your boots are too tight, maybe you need to loosen your laces. Like, okay, well, that's funny, but if I'm paying $700 for something, I don't want you joking around. I want you telling me how my boots are supposed to fit. And anyway, so those of you who watched the Georgia and the Carolina videos, this is kind of an extension of that. And in the middle, I did the ad-tec review, which is getting kind of a lot of views for a pretty cheap boot. So I guess there's some curiosity out there for even that. So what happened was, okay, originally I was going to wear the ad-tec boot like pretty much exclusively and just see how it goes. When the Carolina boots showed up, I decided to switch to those for the day instead, since I figured these kind of fit and I wasn't really worried about the fit. I would try and wear these. I put a lot of notes in the comments of that video already, so I won't restate all of it. I also, at some point, I swapped out. This did not come with this doohickey here with the emblem, or whatever you call it, decoration, ornamentation. I took this out of the Georgia boot because I thought the color went better with it. And I put the one from the ad-tec boot in the Georgia boot. Now, this is the steel toe one, so I'm not going to wear it very often, so it doesn't matter. But now the reason I did this wasn't just to be cute for looks. Part of the reason I did this was because in the Nix boot video, he said that if you have these things, it will help you tighten your boots. I'm not making this up. So I took the black one out of the ad-tec and put it in this one to try and tighten this. And in fact, it did the opposite. What it did was held the lacing farther apart, so I couldn't cinch it tight at all in the front, whereas this one is much flimsier. This is the Georgia one that is strictly for looks and doesn't do anything. Except they're supposed to, I guess, protect your laces from getting chewed up against the leather here, which I don't know. On this cheaper model, it's kind of a rough-outy, suede-y kind of idea. So maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I already had to switch out the laces too. These are some old laces, I think, from the green hiking boots that I showed in video 2 or 3 or whatever. So yeah, literally tried to walk around in these for about an hour. The insole is complete garbage. The foam is totally uncomfortable. I can feel the rubber through the bottom. I think I mentioned this already. So I tried to fix that by putting in a Dr. Scholl's, but this one's a little worn out. So my heel was basically going right through it anyway. I have some newer ones. I thought I would wear these first and it would be fine before I put the newer ones in there. Wrong. These are just, it's just not, yeah, it's just terrible. Also, I took a tape measure and I stood on it against the wall and got my measure, and my foot is exactly this long, and the boots are all an inch longer. So they're all I measured inside, and yes, it's a tape measure that can bend, so I didn't like do this wrong somehow. It's an inch longer in here than my foot is. Okay. And that's for a shoe that's supposed to run true to size, and they do not have a smaller size than this, I don't think. But not too worried about it because, again, I plan to have this rebuilt. I will probably, instead of doing a cap toe, I'll probably have this entire interior lined with a second piece of leather. and then have this toe relasted so it's smaller, so it'll be more close to the toe to uh, whatever construction that this one is. The funny thing is, this one is the exact same length inside too, but because of all the heavy padding, or maybe the steel toe, it fits better. It's just more snug. It fits. So when that padding all deteriorates, maybe it'll be too big. Also, I don't know, but I'm not worried about it because again, I'm not planning to wear them that much because they're insulated steel-toed boots, and I live in California where I don't need insulated boots all that often. And for the price, they're fine and they're comfy and they fit and they're good. These, on the other hand, are miserable. But by the time I get them redone, I'll have to replace the entire outsole, so I probably won't have a logger heel anymore. And they'll probably just be really nice hiking boots because, like I said, I do like the look of them. I just hate the way they feel. I hate the way they fit. Once I've replaced half the components or whatever, they'll be an expensive but pretty nice shoe. I'll probably remove this branding, even though this branding will remain, and because I don't know what I can do about that. And I'll have the little decorative thing going on here that'll make them unique. And yeah, so I don't know what else to really say about this. Again, really, really super squishy in here, which is kind of typical of when a leather's kind of broken in, but not necessarily something I want in a logger boot when it's brand new. So that, like I said, was all kind of an issue. So I think with a little reinforcement and a little reshaping, it should be fine. We'll see how it goes. Now, when I'm going to get around to that, I don't know, because obviously today we're talking about Drew's boots, America's boot source since 1918. So I'm trying to be as quick as possible with this other housekeeping stuff. But since I wore these for about an hour, literally only about an hour, because I had to just jam them so tight. Like I said, I was watching other videos to try and find out how to make them fit better, and came up with nothing. He said put in some insoles. Okay, well, I tried that, didn't help. And pull your laces tighter. Okay, I tried the kilties, and that did the opposite, like I said. So I ended up switching out all the little deals and yada yada yada. So the next day I decided, okay, well, I'll go back to my original strategy, which was just to wear the combat boot and see how it goes. Well, how did that go? Yeah, they fit a little better, but they also fit a little more snug. Like I said, you have a much less pronounced toe here. So I now have blisters on the top of my toes, one of which is bleeding currently, which I've never really had before. That was new. But even more importantly, the first hour, they actually were comfortable. The foam in here is way better than the Carolina for support. The first hour I was doing great, so I didn't see any problem. I decided to take a longer walk, and that was my mistake, because instead of just staying close to the house, I went around the big block. So half a mile out from home, I had literally no choice but to either continue walking in these or go barefoot in cold weather when it was literally about to snow. Because I kind of walked during the nice part of the day before the random California winter weather came in. So what I had said inside of this one was paperboard. I could be wrong. It probably is, but it's covered with a little thin layer of fabric. And so that made me think that this is all paperboard, but it could be rubber or plastic or something. It was probably paper. But what is happening with this one after walking for a while, and I don't know how you can fix it, because right along this seam, there's a seam on the interior that's not, you couldn't really seam it up here and hide it better to kind of maybe cover over. I don't know. Maybe I can talk to a shoe guy and they can give me some ideas how to properly wear this ever again. But what's happened is this paperboard thing has kind of curled inward. So the second hour, the seam and the paperboard or whatever, it was literally sawing into my foot below my ankle. Another first. So I now have bloody sores on my feet, under my ankles, worse on this foot than this foot. The right boot just killed my right foot completely. The left boot was a little more forgiving. I'm not taking pictures of my bloody feet, don't worry. My slideshow will be brief. But so I think maybe if I took some hockey tape and some duct tape and kind of covered over it, it wouldn't be cute, but it might it might kind of hide that seam a little bit and still be wearable. Otherwise, these literally are sawing into my feet, so I don't know how much I'm wearing these. But pay attention to the fact that this tongue comes way down to here because as I had said with this boot and the Thursday boot, you just have this curve. You don't have any of the articulation that is in the shaft of these, which is minor, but does help this stay straight. My finger's in the wrong spot. Okay. See how this comes down, and then there's this little doodle doot here, and then you've got this curve here, and of course this boot's shaped slightly different than that boot, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, without that, we'll get to another issue. So I was watching the JK video, and he was saying, oh, if you have the wrong size boot, don't worry, it'll work itself out. That's completely false. When a boot is too big, it's just too big, especially when you have a 2-inch, logger heel. You're sliding forward the whole time. Was not sliding forward so much in this one as much as just regular friction. Like I said, the first hour was not bad at all. I was like, okay, these are great. I'll wear them, no problem. I didn't even notice the heel being too tall, too much. And then again, that last half mile on the way home, it was like, oh my God, why am I wearing these? This is ridiculous. I don't need this high heel. And this crap is cutting into my feet. And, and of course it's a stiff leather. I am not doing any conditioners or softening or anything on these things. I'm trying to literally see how they wear naturally on purpose as, a service for my 3 viewers. So, they are what they are. And like I said, I'm gonna try and, they were only $75 boots, so who cares if the inside look kind of ugly. Like I said, I'll try and put some duct tape or something in there and see how it goes. But again, the kill tees on this one pretty unnecessary because it's a leather all the way up the tongue, so I'm not too worried about the laces getting shredded on this. So I just took those right out and put them in the other boots for decoration. Let's see, what do I have here? Move from those, yes, talked about that already. Making jokes for my $700, yes, talked about that. I'm going to be talking about fit a lot more in the next few seconds. We'll get to that. He said if it's too loose, wear thicker socks. Again, bought this to be able to use more in warmer weather. Don't want to wear thick socks in warmer weather. I'm already wearing Walmart socks, which are thicker than Hanes socks, which is pretty much winter use for me only. After that, I can't wear a thicker sock than that comfortably. It's 100 plus degrees. So let's see. Insole. Oh, he said to get, if it's too small, you can get some scrap leather for your insole. Okay, so yeah, that'll build it up a little bit. So maybe you're sliding less forward when you have an entire inch of too much room. But then again, that's going to be putting more your foot up all again along this. So if you don't want blisters on top of all your toes like I got with the ad-tecs, I don't know that I'd recommend putting 3 more inches of leather here and accomplishing nothing here. So I literally watched a bunch of other videos of consumers who had bought Nick's boots and maybe JK boots. I don't remember all of them now. Where they literally sound like victims of domestic abuse making excuses. It's like, oh, I know I bought the wrong size, but it's my fault, not their fault. No. One of these companies has been in business since the Beatles were around. My parents hadn't even met yet. They have had plenty of time to figure out their sizing. These other 2 companies have literally been around over a century, longer, half a century longer than the Knicks. They have had plenty of time to figure out their sizing. I shouldn't have to be doing calculus, like I said before, to figure out your sizing. I know how long my foot is, and I know how long your boot needs to be. If my foot is this and your boot is this, it's not going to fit. Or I did that backwards, but you understand. In the midst of my rant. And literally, I don't understand the sizing because they don't even use inches anymore. In most of the world, they use metric. So if you want to force Americans to use metric, fine. But then make 6, inches, however many centimeters, that would be 10. Then let's say if my foot is 6 inches long, I wear 10 centimeters. That can be size, I don't know, 6, 10, or 1. Whatever they want to start that as number, numerically fine. And then get rid of all the half-inch sizes because nobody. How is a size a half when the inch? It's not a half inch here. 6 to 6.5 isn't literally 6 to 6.5. It's something else. And so 7 here is literally 10 inches. I'm not kidding. 10. 7 here is literally 10 inches. So how is this a size 7? And it's still too big, but so how do I wear a size 7 and not a size 9? My foot should be considered, again, however many centimeters that would be, or however. So believe me, I'm not stopping on this. This rant will continue for a while, and I'm not doing the boot porn yet. Not yet. But we're close. What I had watched in the Rose Anvil video, he had talked about the boots with the spring toe. Now, literally, I don't think any of these boots has a very sprung toe. You can see that one's pretty flat. You can see that one's pretty flat, but you can kind of see where it does have a little bit more. And again, I don't know. I don't have any overt complaints about this boot yet, so it can be kind of flat and whatever because it's a steel toe and it's not going to flex like a normal boot anyway. This one, again, no real sprung toe. Pretty much it is what it is. So how much a sprung toe is supposed to help, I don't know. I don't think any of these has a sprung toe. So here we come to the new one. I can't even hardly hold it up because the thing's so tall. I don't really see that much of a sprung toe here either, but we do have a pronounced arch. Okay, so getting that housekeeping out of the way. So the boot he was talking about. Now I had ordered. Forgot about this part. I was going to do this video later today because they haven't arrived yet. As I said about the Georgia boots, I had ordered the one the same day that he talks about in his video. He got mixed match sizes, but he intentionally ordered mixed match sizes. I had actually gotten mixed match sizes without having ordered mixed match sizes. So I had turned around and reordered the Georgia boot without the steel toe, and they're not here yet. I ordered them on Amazon originally, and it came from Shepler's, and so I had put, just send me the new boot, and then they had turned around and refunded me instead. So I turned around and tried to reorder them from Boot Barn because I thought I would have some rewards and such. Turns out my account was inactive for too long or whatever, so the rewards all expired. When I first joined their thing, I thought the points never expired, but apparently they expire when they convert them for you to rewards or something. I didn't know that had happened or whatever, so I never got any discount. But their price is still $2 less than the factory direct price, but the factory direct price is less in tax. So it's literally $200 for a pair of boots, even. Steven, and they should be here sometime this morning. And if you order them from the factory, they come from Ohio. But if you order them from Boot Barn, the guy said they would probably come from Fontana, which is next to Ontario, for those of you who don't know California. And so I thought, okay, Fontana, that's pretty close. I'll have them in a couple of days, and I'll be able to just wear them and add them to this review, but they're still not here because they're coming from Wichita, not Fontana. So they're farther away. And why they were in Vernon yesterday and are not here today, I don't know, because these were in Vernon yesterday and made it here yesterday. So anyway, but again, those Georgia ones are the insulated ones. So also, I don't know how long I'll be able to wear them, but I will potentially take a second pair new and just have them completely refitted at the same time I do the Carolina ones, finances permitting, just to see how they rebuild and completely waste $150 on a perfectly good new pair of shoes to just tear the guts out and see what's inside them and do a video about that. Hold your breath. It won't be anytime soon because I already bought 5 pairs of freaking boots or something that I haven't even worn yet. Okay. And the Carolina ones, though, like I said, I will try and do those sooner, maybe, because I think they'll just be a nice summer boot. But again, I might not need them, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so in the meantime, while I was moaning and complaining about all of this, someone suggested that I get the Drew's boots. And I can only talk for a few more minutes on without pausing. So since this might go on a bit, I'm going to pause it here and then pick up again. Okay, so like I said, I don't know if I should have done this. Well, I didn't say this. I always say like I said, even though I haven't always said that. I don't know if I should do this as a separate video, but then people will miss that part. And so those of you who are annoyed that it took me 20 minutes to start talking about the boot that you actually clicked on here to talk about or hear about, whatever, life goes on. I don't plan to, like I said, make an entire channel of just logger boots anyway. So that brand that he had talked about in the Rosanville video was the Westco boot. I'm not familiar with that company. I don't know anything about that. But he had said that was more of a fashion model that he had gotten. I was not on the market for that kind of fashion model at all. I was literally trying to get the heaviest, dutiest, beefiest logger boots possible. Again, to compare them to these other flimsy inferior boots and whatnot. And there's definitely, you know, fits the bill. Okay, so it's definitely they. Okay, the reason I wanted to get this, as I've said in previous videos, I'm not a big fan of the rough out thing, and most boot guys will tell you you don't really need rough out up here because you're wearing your jeans or whatever, and it covers over it, and you can have a smooth shaft. They only offered 2 models in ready to ship, and this were in my size. So that was fortuitous, or at least the size I thought was my size. Again, we're not done with the sizing thing, trust me. Again, no articulation here though, so I'm not as crazy about that. And then down here, the rivets have this rough thing here that will eat your laces. I don't know why they do that. That's horrible. Fortunately, you know, it switches to it switches from eyes to hooks for most of the boot. But of course, I hate speed hooks because trying to lace these things and keep them together while I'm pulling them up, especially with a taller boot, seems like it would be impossible. But I never even got that far because they told me to size half a size down from my regular size. So I went to 6.5 from the regular 7, feeling pretty confident. And they are exactly, literally the exact same 10 inches inside as the Carolina boot. So they're way too big, way too long. And I only know that because I was able to get my left foot into this one. This in here, however, as big as it is and roomy as in here, this is super narrow, and I don't know how you're supposed to get them on if you have bigger feet than mine that would actually fit this. And good luck getting them off. You will either need a strong brother or a woman with a lot of patience who doesn't mind potentially throwing out her back to help you pull these things off, or you might have to just sleep in them until they are cut off of you in a few weeks when you know you're starting to get toe rot or whatever. I don't know. Other people buy them and like them. Maybe, I don't know. They said they have some new last based on a 55 last. Now here's my other complaint about every single one of these Pacific Northwest boot companies is they expect you to know what every single last is. Unless you are sending me a shoe in all 5 lasts or whatever that you use so I can try each one on and decide which one I like. I don't know anything about lasts. I don't know how each last is supposed to fit or feel. I never heard about lasts until like 4 months ago. I never worried about it. I just bought boots and that was what they were. I didn't know that there was 800 lasts I was supposed to memorize and catalog in my brain when I need a pair of work boots by, if I need a pair of boots by next week, literally, like I said, if I am trying to buy a pair of boots for a job that is starting and I have to order your pre-made, ready to go boots, I do not have, well, now with the internet, it's a little easier, but I don't have the time and the wherewithal to know which will last, might be the right one, which one's going to do this. No, I don't have time for that. You understand. So, and then your sizing is still wrong. So these are literally half a size down, still too big. These are in their 6.5, what is their 7, which is still also too big. So I would literally need to go 2 half sizes or 1 full size or possibly 3 half sizes down to get the correct size. Because then on the phone, the gal says it's only like an eighth of an inch difference or something. So it's not even the half inch. So I'm like, okay, so it's negligible if I go half a size down. So like I said, I might need to go 3 sizes down to get the right size. That's freaking ridiculous. And again, your company, sorry, has been around since before my grandmother, knew my grandfather or whatever. Like, I'm not sure about the exact year of that, but somewhere in there. Your company's been around long enough to figure out that your size and their size are not the same size. And you charge way more. Now, the good thing about this, and the reason I'm doing this video to help you guys out, the 4 of you who might appreciate it, at least the price on this one wasn't bad. It was about $350. Now I'm going to lose money on the shipping because okay, it was $350 plus $20 to ship. So we're still getting a really well built boot from what I can see of it for less than $400, which is pretty rare, even though it's an ugly rough out that I don't really, want per se, but it's definitely going to be durable. The other option was, similar to the black finish, which again, I don't like. I like black boots even less than I like rough out boots. So those were my 2 options. Neither of them great, but this one doesn't look terrible. But again, I can't get my foot in here. The left foot, I was able to somehow get it in. The right foot, because this tongue is all gusseted, there's no anywhere for it to go. My heel was getting jammed up somewhere around here, and my toes were hitting somewhere around here. I'm trying to do all this backwards to the camera, but so yeah, somewhere in here is my foot, my toe angled, and it was, if I had somehow been able to get my heel through into here and my foot in here, I don't know how I would have ever gotten it off. Like, that would have been it, and it still would have been too big. So in order to find out that it was too big, I have to literally eat a whole bunch of money in shipping and wonder if, again, 2 or 3 sizes smaller, it might fit better in here, but there's no way I'm ever going to be able to get in a boot this small. I don't know if this one's a defect and one's bigger than the other or what, because like I said, the right one was a no-go. Couldn't even get my foot in it. Had the girl on the phone. She's trying to be helpful. They offered that they could potentially cut the gusset down for me so it would be more similar to the other boot, where it would just be more of a tongue, and that might work, but then I would have to pay for a custom boot, and it would be non-refundable, and again, would take as long as it takes to get here. So if you, again, need a boot by next week because you're starting a job, good luck. I don't know. Again, I would go with the Georgia boot and hope for the best, and then order custom ones and hope for the best in the meantime. Because again, none of these companies seem to understand just sizing or something. And again, I'm not as crazy about this. Like I said, I think this makes it just more difficult than if you had an easier in-out system. I mean, I've had cowboy boots before, and literally after 3 hours of dancing or whatever out in the thing, I spent literally half an hour trying to get that stupid boot off with my foot all swollen inside. This, but at least a cowboy boot is kind of I don't know. It's not as narrow in here. It's not meant to be laced. So what I did end up doing was, since I could get the left one on, I did get this one back on a second time, and then I put on the Georgia boot on the right foot and tried to walk around in them, and yeah, just way too big, just sliding. And oh, if you're gonna do that, put in the laces first. Don't try and lace them up from halfway across the room, even though it's only 4 eyes. Oh my god, that was a fun task. Just trying to do that much, and again, finding out that these rivets are maybe gonna saw up my black laces because I took them out of that boot because that boot has like no eyes at all. Well, it is 4, but it was a quick unlace. So yeah, so trying to put the laces in here with the boot on was a whole other comedy. But then, like I said, it was all speed hooks all the way up after that. And I did have the pull tab, so I don't know if it would have been easier to try and stand and pull them on than to try sitting. But again, I wasn't willing to risk it because I just did not want my feet trapped in these things and have to go to the emergency room to get my boots removed. Because that would just, without someone to videotape it anyway for the comedy effect. Otherwise, well, I might as well talk about the actual boot. It's got more of this kind of pronounced down here, so you're feeling that arch support. It has the white doohickey here, which I assume means that it has the snow sole, but I assume it's a better wear for asphalt than the red star. I don't know if all of their pre-made boots will come with this or not. It does have some hardware here, stitching all the way here. I mean, I'm not going to not talk about the boot itself. In short change, it does have, I don't know if you can really see it, but this is a true Vibram sole. So instead of just being flat here like the other soles, I don't know if you can really see that, but instead of just being flat, it does have kind of a curve in here. So there is a slight difference, and I think it is a bit more curved, concave here than just flat. So that, I don't know that that's some of that is the sole, and some of that will be the boot, pulling the sole. I assume, but like down in here, so I don't know if that's because when they nail it, if there's a hollow in here that it allows this to curve in, or if the sole is just created that way. The heel stack, again, here we're not having a full rubber, but again, I couldn't walk around in them enough to tell you if it was more or less comfortable underfoot than the other one, because like I said, as soon as I put my foot in it, it just slid all the way down here, and it was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to walk in these. It's just the same exact thing as the Carolina, but firm instead of mushy, just way too big. And so I literally walked in these for less than a minute, and that was it. It was like far enough to know I can't walk in them and far enough to sit back in the chair and take them back off. So that's about all the wear that I put on these, and I don't know what else I can really say about them, except that I don't believe I should be on the hook for the shipping when I don't believe I did anything wrong with ordering the size that's supposed to be the correct size. So I'm a little unhappy about that, and I will definitely include that in my letter that they will probably ignore. Okay, it says, thank you for your order and supporting small business. Reach out with any questions, which I did. I had the gal on the phone while I grunt and strain and try and take the boot on and off my foot. And she was pretty patient about the whole thing. But then offered me no solution except mail them back at my expense, which again, I'm not thrilled with that. I expect to at least be reimbursed for my initial shipping, if not my return shipping, since my return shipping is not in their system, with a credit card and all that. So okay, whatever. But they do weigh over 2 pounds each. I weighed them. So literally it's going to be at least 5 pounds to ship these things, and I don't have a UPS account like they do, so I'm not getting a discount. They sent me a paper that does have their repair service information. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it says a overhaul special for work boots and packer boots, and new soles, restitching, reblocking, that kind of thing, which Maybe I would use them for the other boots. I'm not sure yet. Then there's another one called Factory Rebuild, which seems to be mostly the same stuff. So I'm not sure. I guess that's what I would use for this if I wanted to just have this customized. So if the sizing of this was better, but I wanted to have the gusset redone like she recommended, I guess that would be considered a factory rebuild. So maybe that would speed up the process of instead of getting them in 2 to 3 months. But I don't want to promise that to a viewer who thinks, "Oh, I'll just buy them in the wrong size and I'll get them next week." And I don't know. I don't know what their schedule is like. Then they have Western boot repair, obviously this totally different style of boot. And then a la carte, which is let's see, leather conditioner, nylon laces, leather laces, Kevlar laces. So I guess that's when you're doing add-ons to one of these other overhaul or rebuilds. And then it says specialty work. This is to correct if you have like a foot issue, like supination or pronation. She asked me if I had these things. Again, I don't know. They love to throw around these terms as if I've been to a podiatrist in the last ever. I've never been to a podiatrist. I've never worried about it. I've always just bought shoes and worn them. My feet are probably much more screwed up than they were 20 years ago or 30 years ago, but I haven't had any significant issues to go to a doctor about that. So, as far as I know, they should just fit like shoes and be able to wear them. So that went on for quite a long time, and I don't know if that was helpful, and I don't know what else I can really tell you about these boots. I can show you the stitching for the boot porn people. And again, this is what I believe is more of a Blake stitch, same as the Trumans. Um, and so the stitch doesn't go all the way around. It goes most of the way around, and then there's nails in the heel, there's screws in the front, and there's all suede upper, durable, last your lifetime, and then this kind of ugly leather tongue in a contrast color because that's pretty lazy. Oh, one thing I did complain about the other boot, the Georgia boot, was how I would deal with this. They've chosen to put it way lower and do it this way. The Georgia boot would be closer up to here. So like I said, it kind of cuts into you up there. So obviously you won't have that problem so much here, although you might have it more here. I don't know. Again, this whole area for me is problematic. So I would rethink it one way or the other. Whether it's better than the Georgia boot, I don't know. At least I can put the Georgia boot on my foot. So I guess that's where I'm going to leave that.